Hi everyone, it's Heather with Rose Hill Paper Cottage, and this is my design team project for Chapter 1 Papers. I'm using a couple of their brand new Christmas kits that they have just released called Christmas Time and Christmas Papers, and I printed off just a few images that just kind of spoke to me because I want to make some Christmas tags, and I thought, a few of them just, they just kind of stood out. And I was like, let me just try something with these. So there's this, really pretty wreath. There's like an invoice in this book page. I don't actually end up using, all of these pieces. I'll make a couple tags, but, I'm just kind of going with the flow, and I have a few elements, and then we'll just kind of see where it goes. They have a couple of pages here, though, that have just like a lot of like these little elements that would be so great, for making a tag however you want to, or a journal card, or, whatever you want it to be. And then they have this real pretty snowflake paper, and that just really spoke to me as well. So I'm going to work with this snowflake paper first. I thought, that's a great background for a tag base. And what I did was I cut out some snowflakes. I have a punch, which I'll show here in a second. I think it's EK Success punch. It's an old punch. I've had it for a while. I believe I got it at, Hobby Lobby. I'm not 100% positive on that. But, it doesn't have to be this exact snowflake. You can use any snowflake, or you can use a tree shape or a stocking shape, or, whatever you want to do. You could freehand a shape that you want to use for your tag. These are just some ideas, and then you can kind of just, let what you have, go with it. So what I did was I laminated the first one. This one that I have in my hand, I actually put some lace through with the snowflake. I've done this before. And I'm going to show you a couple different laces. I put the snowflake up to them, and, that's kind of what determined that the lace that I used, it kind of gave that like snow effect. So I really liked it, and that's why I went with what I went with. But finding something that's not too busy is going to let your pattern stand out more. If you do something more of a block shape, like a stocking or a tree shape or a star, it may not matter as much because it'll stand out. But as you see with the snowflake, it kind of blends in with some of the different laces. So picking something different, or contrasting, I should say, a little bit, more see-through. That's the one that I use there. So you won't actually see me use that particular, one with the lace, but I mean, these are just all to give you ideas, just to kind of think about other things and materials that you could use to make, whatever, just use what you have on hand. This, I used vellum, which actually is this tracing paper here, but it's pretty much just like vellum. And I made like a little shaker pocket. So I put in some, tiny little stars, and I've glued around it. However, I would probably then end up stitching it, in the end, maybe. I don't know. But the glue worked, and I used the art glitter glue. And then this one here, I just threw in some glitter and laminated it. So 3 of those are laminated. The tracing paper obviously is not laminated. But I thought that was kind of fun. And I'll kind of try them all out. And while I'm doing this, I'm just totally just going with the flow here. I don't know which one of those I'm going to use. I don't even know if it's going to work out. But that's what's so great about just getting to your craft table, pulling things that speak to you, and then just seeing where it goes. So I'm tearing off all the edges on this paper, which I tore in half. And I used the linen paper, so that has like a little bit of a texture, which you probably can't see here. But if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see it more in an up-close picture. So I'm kind of just gauging like what size I would need, because I basically just want to make this as simple as possible and just throw that laminated piece in, whichever one I end up choosing. But I'll tell you a little secret, I go with just the plain one. So I had this idea that I would like cut a circle out. Now you could cut a square. You can use an X-Acto knife. You don't have to have these metal dies. Just, use what you have. If you have a square punch, you could just punch it. Or if you have dies at all, or like I said, you could just trace out a square, use an X-Acto knife, and then just cut out your hole. So I use those circles, and what I'll use with the actual circle itself is I'll end up making like another ornament, with it, or not an ornament, but like a tag. It reminds me of an ornament, I think, because it's a circle. You know what I mean. So I'm showing right there. I think that's going to be really cute, just like it as it is. So I'm just going to kind of show like what each of these, look like. And honestly, I just think that they all would work. They're all very, very cute. And these would be perfect for not just tags for gifts, but this would be great for pen pals. This would be great to use, as a tag in a journal. This would be great for, like your greeting card or something like that. You don't even actually have to like cut the circle, if you don't have that kind of stuff or that time, you can just, slap your snowflake on the front. Do what works for you. That vellum I thought looked really, really pretty. So it was a little too wide, so I'm just snipping off a little bit of that side just so I can kind of look at it a little bit better before I choose my image. But again, I already told you which one I chose. But see how pretty that is? I just think it's really, really pretty. And I think it would be, beautiful in any application that you would use. So I'm just showing like, you could go chunky with, sequins. You could, use whatever that you want to use. There's lots of different options out there. I use those tiny, tiny little stars. So anytime you see me tap my fingers, I'm thinking. So I've also pulled all these book pages because I'm like, sometimes you just need a book page. And I've got these lunch bags. I don't know at this point what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something with them. So stay tuned. You'll see. I'm doing this voiceover in the evening, and so I'm a little, I don't know, maybe overtired. So I want a little bit of that, like that edge of the book page, when you tear it, like at the spine, like it's just kind of like crinkly, and it just gives a little bit of texture. And then also that color is just going to bring in a little bit of that warmth that you see in the background on the snowflake paper. So I just want to glue some of that in there. And then I decided, well, let me just have a little bit on the side too. So you'll see there that I didn't, trim it all the way to the edge of my paper. So I'm going to do some, kind of like a little bit of, fancy, tearing here to still leave it, the edge there. You'll see. You don't even need me talking. You know what I'm doing. And again, you don't have to do this. You could make yours completely simple and plain, and you don't have to do all this extra. Like, it's already looking so cute. How adorable is that? So to hold it in place, because, when you work with like the laminated, it's very much like acetate and stuff, which is another thing that you can use. I don't know if I showed the acetate piece, but that's another thing that you could use. You could sandwich your, image in between two pieces of acetate. I'm just taping it down with some masking tape. If you happen to want to do any kind of stitching, just remember you've put masking tape in there, and that's going to gum up your needle. This is a completely no-sew project here. I'm not sewing anything. So I'm just using a little bit of this art glitter glue. That's what's in the tiny little bottle there. To basically just kind of, make my image stay, make the paper stay to the image, so things, don't just move and shift and all that sort of stuff. I feel like I should have like some Christmas music playing in the background. But then that might be annoying when I'm talking, or vice versa. I don't know. So there isn't any. But you could hum a little tune, like Jingle Bells or something. I haven't started singing any Christmas music yet. I don't know why. Usually I kind of am by now. So I just kind of, you know, folded that book page. I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm just looking for a little bit of interest. I'm not sure yet, like what I want to do on the top there, like if I want to put a label. And if I would have made it longer, you know, there are some other images that I could have used, which I'll kind of, I think I'll point out in a little bit here, but I'll use that smaller one because at the top of the snowflake, I don't have a lot to work with. So see, if I would have made it a little bit longer, those other couple images would have been cute. So I think I'm going to actually add that label to the top, you know, and glue it down, but I'll actually change my mind and I'll do something completely different. Because like I said, I mean, I'm just kind of just going with the flow and what works. And I mean, but that's an option. You could totally do that. Or you could leave it blank and you could just put your to from there. You know, if you were going to put it onto a gift or something. So I'm toying with whether I want to use some of the handmade paper, but I just feel like it's too much for, you know, this tag. It just covers up the cute snowflake detail. And I'll also feel that when I put this label up there, I'll feel like it's a little bit too overpowering. So you'll see how I remedy that, how I do that. Now this tag, I'm leaving incredibly neutral, but feel free. They have so many different, you know, colors in these kits that you can, you know, like I showed you with the labels, that you can introduce color, but I'm just leaving this one really neutral. I don't actually know, you know, what else I might make this year. I don't know. I might make a few more Christmas journals. I don't know. Who knows what I'm going to do? I may look like I have it together, but I don't. I'm just like everybody else. So I love that tissue. That tissue is from like an old postcard booklet, and that tissue was all between them. And so if you've seen me or followed me on Instagram lately, you know, you've seen me use this tissue a lot. I don't know. I love the color and the depth that it brings into projects. I love that it can kind of instantly make things look aged without really having to do a whole lot. You can see as I'm kind of just manipulating it and folding it on this and just kind of letting it naturally be. If you don't have this type of tissue, you can also use like pattern tissue. That's just as fantastic. Or buy brown tissue. You can buy brown tissue at, you know, pretty much most stores. So I just felt like that's too heavy, you know, just the bulk of it, the size of it. But sometimes you don't know. You just have to kind of put some things down and see what it looks like. So I kind of like this a little bit better, but I still feel like it hides some of the snowflake pattern. So I kind of just want it to be like a little bit of like a dangle, like a charm kind of. So I'm not sure, but I'm going for it. You can see me contemplating. I'm like, do I? Should I? Just do it. So I'm just tearing off a little bit more excess there. You'll see me rough up the edge of that a little bit. It looked a little bit too perfect. And it's a fairly fragile book page, so just using my fingernail just kind of removes, you know, some of it. So I've just, taken these reinforcements, and these are ones I've just, coffee stained or tea dyed or, whatever I used when I made them. And just reinforcing it on both sides. So I'm looking at my different trims, but I think I'll go with like an ombre sari. It's just a really pretty, color, and it really matches, the neutral colors in this. And then I have this twine that's wrapped like with like this gold foil, I don't know, mylar type string. You can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of it. And that's what I'll use to just kind of like tie it to the sari, and then I'll make like a nice bow with the sari. And look how cute that is. That is so cute. And it's so simple. I mean, so simple, matches anything. I just think it's adorable. I think it's adorable if I don't know. I guess as long as I can remember, really. I mean, I've just loved wrapping, presents, and I've always, had things like that matched, and made a lot of the things that went with it, specifically like the tags, and, that just reminds me of that. Now it's kind of like, everybody's older and stuff, and so it's like gift card city. And so, the wrapping is a little bit more on the boring end nowadays, but it just reminds me of all the times that, I don't know. It was like the wrapping. I mean, I could have been wrapping socks and it didn't matter. They were the most beautifully wrapped socks ever. So I'm just trying to make my bow imperfectly perfect here. And I love it. I think it's adorable. But I won't stop there. I just feel like it needs a little bit of something else. So I'm going to add a little bit of, gold to it. And you always have to stir that, it settles the pigment down at the bottom. And a little bit of this goes a long way. So you'll see what I do when I, add like a little bit too much. I take my handy dandy tool there. Just take some tissue and just run it along. I'm very professional. But I just love it. It just gives it a little bit of pizzazz. And as it dries, it'll lighten. So, if you ever get any of that stuff, and I'll try to remember to put the link to that below. It's like a gold leaf, like a liquid gold leaf, obviously. It looks like it's really heavy, but it dries to this, just beautiful shimmer. And so it's not quite as heavy when it dries. So don't be alarmed. But you know what? If you feel like you overdid it or you did too much, that's just a special tag. That's all there is to it. It's just you put a little bit of extra love on it. I absolutely love it. I think it's adorable. So see, any of those, other snowflakes that I did would totally work inside there. It doesn't matter. It's just how transparent it all is, how see-through everything is. So I'll set that out of the way to dry after I do a little dance with it. And then I'm going to go on to these. And I really think this image is so pretty. So, so pretty. And so I want to make something that's even more simple. So if you don't have all the other supplies or you don't want to take the time to make the other tag, I wanted to give like another option of something that's so super simple. It's so easy to do. So I'm just kind of like tearing this, and I just, kind of angle my ruler towards, the actual lines of the actual image. But you could do this with any image, even if it's straight on, just to kind of give your image just this imperfect edge. So I'm going to use some Music Page, but I changed my mind on which one because, they all have like the name of the song. And so I'm just, I changed my mind on which one I wanted, and I changed my mind on which way I wanted the image to go. And I'll actually have it go this way. I immediately knew once I set that image down this direction that was what it was going to be. And sometimes that's how it is. You just know. So super simple tag. So now you could actually, if you wanted to use this for like a journal or a card, you could actually just, glue something on the inside there to stabilize your paper, unless your paper's already really strong or blank on the other side, and then write inside of it. And so then that way it opens. It could be, an instant card. I won't do that. I'll glue it all. So I'm just going to take this lunch bag and I just wadded it all up just to kind of give me that texture, underneath, to give me some substance. And I am going to put that in between, so that it will, just kind of stabilize the whole image, but also give it a little bit more, interest on the edges. But again, I mean, you could actually just glue something, that you could write, like the snowflake pattern on the other side of this would be so cute. And then you could actually write your Christmas greeting, or add in some of those, smaller, cards that say like, Merry Christmas, blah, 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 pick one of those. So I'm trimming this fairly close to the edge. I want some of it peeking through just to give a little bit of interest. And then I'm roughing up the bottom of the music so that it's, it's just not perfect. And that's Beacon's glue that I'm using. And then I'll just glue the music flap down. And voila, it's almost done. Like so simple and so easy. And I mean, look how cute that would be, attached to, gifts or inside of a journal. I just think the simplicity of it is just so pretty. You could add gold to this. I didn't. I mean, you could add glitter, to it. I didn't, but you totally could. There's lots of different options, and you could use different images. There's so many different images that they have in these kits that you could use. So I kind of had this idea, like while I was looking at it, how when people hang a wreath on the door, how the ribbon goes up through it. And so I'm trying to figure out how I could kind of make it look like that and tie the bow at the top and everything, because I think that looks really cute. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You could just, put a hole in the top of it, or, staple something, however you want to finish it off. But I'm thinking about like adding it to make it look like the ribbon was. Now, had I had that idea before, I probably would have ran it through in between the layers, like poked a hole or something, but I'm just going to glue it down to the front. You'll see. I'll glue it down to the front here and make a bow. And then these are just, I mean, they're really super simple to do. You could make a ton of these, for all of your packages. Everything would match. Or like I said, you could use it for your own personal journal. If you're a journal maker, you could make it for other journals, Happy Mail, Pen Pals. So many options. So I'll just use hole reinforcers again on the front and on the back, just to, help reinforce so that the hole doesn't tear out. I mean, I always tend to glue the reinforcers on because after I've tea dyed or coffee dyed them, they just don't seem to be as strong, the adhesive, because they've gotten wet. So you'll see me go through this like this, but I end up, I think, going over the top of it. It worked out better. So I think I show that. I think I show how I actually finish it off. But there's lots of different ways, to actually do this part. Yeah, there we go. So I take both of them and I actually go through the back. And then I separate both of them, and then I tie my knot, and then I do the bow. The only thing I think I would change if I was going to do this is to use a ribbon that's, like, this one is kind of like on the stiff end. It's a satin ribbon, but it would be nicer if it had a little bit more give and bend. It's a little bit on the finicky end. It doesn't give me kind of that messy, imperfect look easily. But anyway, I hope you thought that these were cute. I hope that, you were inspired by them, and I hope you'll make something too. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it below. If you make these, tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see what you make. But again, I just hope it inspires you to get at your desk and create something beautiful.